You're probably doing something similar right now. Maybe you're optimizing that cell culture process, or perhaps you're troubleshooting that purification step that's giving you headaches. And let's be honest, between regulatory requirements, tight timelines, and the pressure to deliver, it's not always easy to maintain that innovative spirit, is it? So let's talk about how to keep that innovation alive in your daily work. I'll share 7 key habits that I have seen make a real difference in our field. The 7 habits I'm about to share help me and my team unlock breakthrough innovations our colleagues said were impossible. And the best part, these aren't complex theories. They're practical strategies you can implement today, even if you're drowning in the day-to-day operations. Hey there, if you're pipetting cell culture media right now, or maybe driving to work, wondering how to tackle that tricky bioprocess optimization challenge, you are in the right place. I'm David Brühlmann, and you are listening to the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast. You know how sometimes you stare at your bioreactor data feeling like you're missing something? Or how those GMP requirements can make you feel like creativity is being squeezed out of your work? Well, grab your coffee, because today we're going to talk about the 7 habits of successful innovators in biotech development. Practices that have transformed how scientists like you approach complex challenges in our field. And chances are that you are part of the 95% of listeners who find these bioprocess insights valuable, but have not yet left a review. Stop right now and leave us a review on the platform you're listening on. Your feedback helps me understand what matters most to you and helps other scientists discover these strategies. Now, speaking of strategies that can transform your work, let's continue exploring these innovation habits that could revolutionize your approach to bioprocess development. Let me share an interesting story with you. The other day, I was reading about this Finnish scientist, Vilho Vaisala. Picture this, it's 1931, and he stumbles upon a fallen Russian radio sonde. Now, most people would have just studied it, right? But not Vilho. He looked at it and thought, I can build something better. And that got me thinking about what we do in bioprocess development. You see, you're probably doing something similar right now. Maybe you're optimizing that cell culture process, or perhaps you're troubleshooting that purification step that's giving you headaches. And let's be honest, between regulatory requirements, tight timelines, and the pressure to deliver, it's not always easy to maintain that innovative spirit, is it? So let's talk about how to keep that innovation alive in your daily work. I'll share 7 key habits that I have seen make a real difference in our field. First up is curiosity. But wait, don't roll your eyes just yet. I'm not talking about generic curiosity. I am talking about the kind that makes you question things during your next DOE. You know what I mean, right? When you're setting up those parameters, do you ever catch yourself wondering, what's really happening inside these cells? When I talk about curiosity as the first essential habit in bioprocessing, I'm not just talking about general scientific interest. I am talking about the kind that transforms our field. Every time you run your antibody through a protein A column, you're benefiting from a chain of curiosity that started over 80 years ago. Let me share this fascinating example that changed bioprocessing forever. The protein that makes modern antibody purification possible, the backbone of our industry's downstream processing, emerged from a series of fascinating misunderstandings and careful observations about a dangerous pathogen. Back in 1940, a scientist named Verwey noticed something unusual while studying bacteria. A protein that could bind to antibodies in an unexpected way. Instead of dismissing it as a weird lab result, his curiosity led him to dig deeper. This discovery eventually led to what we know as protein A, which is absolutely crucial for purification of antibodies in our industry today. Here is the interesting part. For years, scientists thought this molecule was actually a sugar compound. It wasn't until 1962 that researchers finally figured out it was actually a protein. And you know what's really cool? This mistake actually helped drive the discovery forward. Scientists kept questioning, kept investigating, because something just didn't add up with the sugar theory. And now, well, every time you run your antibody through a protein A column, you're benefiting from this chain of scientific curiosity that started over 80 years ago. Think about that next time you're setting up your purification run. That's the kind of curiosity I'm talking about. The kind that makes you look twice at your data, question your assumptions, and wonder if there might be a better way to do things. Because who knows? Curious observation today might be tomorrow's breakthrough. The second habit is what I call connecting the dots. The Cambridge Dictionary defines it as to understand the relationships between different facts or events so that you fully understand a situation. Let me share a powerful example of connecting the dots in bioprocessing, drawing from Professor Massimo Morbidelli's groundbreaking work. His team discovered that machine learning techniques used for transferring knowledge between different vaccine variants could reduce required experiments by 80 to 90% when developing processes for new virus variants. Even more surprisingly, when transferring knowledge between different cell lines and product types, like going from a CHO cell producing monoclonal antibodies to fusion proteins, for instance, they could still reduce experiments by about 50%. This insight revolutionized how we think about process development. The same transfer learning principles apply when you're moving between molecules or scales. Instead of treating scale-up and process transfer as separate challenges, we can use similar machine learning approaches to tackle both. The digital twin models remain constant across scales, from the lab reactors to thousands of liters at the commercial scale, while only the physical parameters change. This dramatically simplifies scale-up and reduces development timelines. The key is recognizing patterns and relationships across different aspects of bioprocessing. As Professor Morbidelli explains, whether you're transferring knowledge between different molecules, different scales, or different unit operations, the underlying principles of knowledge transfer remain similar. The same techniques that help transfer learning across processes can help transfer knowledge from lab to commercial scale. This dots connection mindset helps us leverage existing knowledge more effectively and accelerates innovation in our field. Start developing the habit of connecting the dots today by consciously looking for patterns and connections across your work. You will be surprised how often solutions from one area can unlock breakthroughs in another. Now, the third habit might make you nervous: taking calculated risks. I can almost hear you thinking, but wait a second, David, have you lost your mind? We work in a GMP environment. Don't worry, I'm not suggesting we throw the quality manual out of the window. But let me ask you this. Remember the first companies that adopted perfusion culture? Everyone thought they were crazy. It's too risky, they said, and it's too hard to validate. But here's the thing. They weren't being reckless. They looked at the potential benefits. We have higher productivity, a better product quality, and a smaller footprint. They assessed the risks, planned carefully, and moved forward strategically. That's the kind of intelligent risk-taking I'm talking about. Take Jeff Bezos and Amazon's early days, for instance. When he decided to start selling books online in 1994, most people thought he was crazy. The internet is just a fad, they said. People will never give up a physical bookstore. But Bezos saw something others didn't. He carefully analyzed the market, understood the potential of e-commerce, and took a calculated risk. He didn't just jump in blindly. He developed a detailed business plan, secured funding, and built the infrastructure he needed to succeed. That calculated risk-taking transformed not just bookselling, but retail as we know it. This same principle applies in bioprocess development. It's not about taking wild chances. It's about carefully evaluating opportunities, understanding the potential impact, and having a solid plan to manage risks. Now let's talk about habit number 4, persistence. You know, that feeling when your experiments aren't working out as planned. Let me share a personal story about persistence. During my PhD in glycoengineering, I faced the challenge of optimizing glycosylation profiles in cell culture. We were running countless 96 depot plate fed batch experiments, testing various media compositions and supplements. Using high throughput robotics for media blending, combined with DOE and multivariate analysis, we were pushing the boundaries of what was possible. But here is the thing. When you're dealing with that level of complexity, a lot can go wrong, my friends. Some days, the robotic systems would malfunction. Other times, the analytical results wouldn't make sense. Other days, the cells wouldn't just grow. And there were moments when I questioned if we were even on the right track. Yet, that persistence paid off. By systematically analyzing each failure, adjusting our approach, and keeping our focus on the end goal, we eventually succeeded in developing a robust process for controlling glycosylation patterns. This experience taught me that persistence isn't just about trying again. It's about learning and adapting with each attempt. It reminds me of something I read about Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind. It was rejected 38 times. Here's the thing. In our field, persistence isn't just about trying the same thing over and over. It's about learning from each attempt and adjusting our approach. That's all I've got for you today. In Thursday's episode, I'll share 3 more habits that could transform how you can approach innovation in your work. Plus, I've got a bonus tip that might change how you think about collaboration in bioprocess development. If you're ready to take your bioprocess innovation to the next level, I'd love to help. Book a free 30-minute strategy session with me at BrühlmannConsulting.com. During this call, we'll identify your biggest process development challenges and create a clear action plan to overcome them. Don't let process optimization hold you back any longer. Let's unlock your innovation potential together. So book your call now. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, and remember that breakthrough innovations often come from embracing the complexity of bioprocess development and not finding it. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep innovating. Thank you for being part of this journey to transform biotech development together. All right, smart scientists. That's all for today on the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on your journey to bioprocess mastery. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. By doing so, we can empower more scientists like you. For additional bioprocessing tips, visit us at smartbiotechscientist.com. Stay tuned for more inspiring biotech insights in our next episode. Until then, let's continue to smarten up biotech.